let's start with an overview of what Navidam is and how you can contribute to it, because it's, as you're going to see, a collaborative tool, not done yet. It's an open tool. So it's a website organized around a dynamical method filtering tool with the objective to suggest a set of methods that is suited to a user's project. And so how does it work? Users enter, assess actually what they want to do by choosing options, criteria options with drop-down lists. I just show you this after. So there are different criteria on the objective. If you want to do detection, attribution, or maybe looking for some robustness tests. Also criteria spanning your data properties, assumptions, etc. And as I said, the objective is to identify not a single method, but because it can't be done, there are a too large variety of approaches, paradigms to just identify one method, but a set of potential candidate methods. So here is the link of the development progress, so you can already look at it. So it will be at long-term transferred on university servers to make it parent, or make sure it's long-lasting. Not only the duration of the project, but after. And on the right side, you can see the user invite panel, where so you can, as I was just saying, choose between the drop-down list and specify what you want to achieve. And if the criteria are not that understandable, or if you have any doubts, because there are some of them, for instance, some assumptions that can be a bit blurry, you can click on this helper links to redirect to the criteria page describing them. And then, so as we're going to see in next part, and the application part, in the end, it suggests you a set of candidate methods with some documentation pages associated, sorry. So yeah, application later. And now how the website is organized. So there is this main landing page with the user input invites, and there are different panels. So the first one being on the criteria that I've been talking about. So each criteria has a page to define the different options, and explain it a bit, providing tools and rationale for helping assessments, and examples. So it's where you are redirected to when you click to the small helper links in the user input invites. And they are also the criteria. They are also described in this Word document, which is in the SharePoint. And this set of criteria, it's actually what allows to then filter the different methods. And for now, the assessment is done in a big Excel document. I'll show it after and walk you through. Then the method panel. So here we are describing the different methods included in the decision tool, because as you have seen just before, when you finish qualifying the criteria, so qualifying your case study, it suggests you the idea is to suggest you a set of methods, and you can then click on the methods to redirect to the method pages. So the objective is not to provide a self-sufficient big method explanation, because it would be just too much. It's more to describe very briefly how it works, the principle, and redirect to the already existing great resources online. And we also want to provide the major variants, because methods usually have lots of variants, and so we thought it would be interesting to list the method variants that are widespread here. And so key methodological articles that have developed the methods, but also applications. So applications with remote sensing data, since it is an emphasis that we want to have in the project. So methods that have already been applied with remote sensing data, and also because maybe some methods have not been applied yet with detection remote sensing data. So also applications with, let's say, in the ecological domain, but without such data. So here are, I was more describing the parts on the right. Here are how our method pages shaped. But before landing to these method pages, if we go back a bit about this filtering tool and how it can suggest you adapted methods, the methods have to be assessed. So again, the criteria, and this is where you can help. I'm going to present this just after. So you can help by assessing the methods against the criteria, document them. So by documenting them, we mean actually filling this method template page on the right, and reviewing documentation pages that have already been done by partners. So it's all stored in the Suke SharePoint here, and so the method template is also there. So how does it work? Maybe it will be easier with the next slide. You have to register, so sign up in this big Excel file, but I've made an example to make it hopefully clearer for the seminar. So you open this Excel page, and you can see there are a lot of different methods that have not been assessed yet. So the line with the different criteria, with the different drop-down lists, are actually empty. So if you have already experience with one of these methods, or maybe you haven't already experienced, but you're curious and you're willing to contribute for a given method, you can start by assessing it. So by assessing here, I mean signing up as assessor here in the green part, basically. So you put your name here, and you start choosing the options that best qualify the methods. So by looking to the literature, you can choose various options. They are not exclusive to each other. So this is what the assessment means. And if you have any doubt on the criteria, you can look at the web page criteria pages, website pages, sorry, or the description guide, criteria description guides. It is actually the same content. So next, you can document the method. So as also I've been presenting, it's basically filling this template about the method descriptions and putting the links to the already existing resources and the applications. So again, you register here, this time in the pink part, and you switch the status accordingly. And so when you've done the documentation part, you can either consider it's ready to be published online, and in that case you put the done status, and I will put it online and turn it to the online status. Otherwise, if you think it's better to make it review, you put it to the to review status. And this is where a third person or a second person can review your documentation page. So they are stored in the Suke folder to review. And there are already methods waiting to be reviewed. So I hope it's clearer how you can possibly contribute with the method integration. So now the two last panels. One is called Good Practices Panels. It's a quite general panel where the idea is to gather every general resource that can be helpful. So for instance, we have the idea to include pages on the review articles that have been presented just before, but also, for instance, a page on causal graphs and adjustment. So this is the only existing one for now. You can already check it here. And again, you can contribute to such good practice page by signing up in the Excel. So this time in the good practices Gary panel sheet. So you can see that there are a few of them already listed. Few of them are waiting to be reviewed also. And in the same Excel sheet, there are also the Gary pages, which are example of use of the Navidam. But I'm going to talk more about this in the application part, so I'm not going to extend here. But if you want to register to use Navidam and then put it in the website, I don't know, for a pilot, for instance, it could be also a Gary page illustrating how Navidam can be used to choose methods. Finally, we are working on a companion article describing the decision tool. So there is a working document here. It will be accessible with the slides being shared after the seminar. So it's following a quite simple, let's say, descriptive structure with a general introduction motivating why such tool, according to us, is necessary, and how complementary it is, for instance, to the conceptual reviews that we've seen before. Second part, so presenting the overview as I've been doing here. And next, descriptions of the different sections, and finally, discussion. So for now, the introduction has been drafted, and you can contribute by commenting it. So here's a summary on how you can contribute to Navidam. I forgot saying there is also this contribution guide, so which is basically the same thing that I've been describing, but in a Word document. If you prefer to, yeah, there are all the info there. So first option, assessing the community and reviewing methods, and it basically starts from this Excel document for now. Second options, good practices or Gary pages. Third, you can also provide remarks, general remarks on the project, improvement suggestions on the website. So you can do it either again in the Excel page, Excel file. There is a sheet that is dedicated to the remarks, or just email them. And last, the comments, suggestions, contribution to the companion article that is being written. The next steps. So we've been working with colleague Julien Renaud on a graph visualization of the different methods and criteria. So it's ongoing work, and we also want to switch to a contribution system with GitHub and pull request to make it more robust. Because as you may be wondering, for now with this Excel system, it's not that robust, because if you can edit it, you can actually edit every column. So it's not ideal. I'm making copies for now, but the idea will be to transfer it with GitHub, and so more robust versioning where contributors cannot edit something they are not granted access to. And the idea will be also to share it to a causal ecology community. So later, that has recently launched a Slack. There is the link to join the community if you're interested. It's quite, I think it will be an ideal community to share such work. And so continuing with the companion article with the method integration and adding features to the websites. And then support to any interested partners to try to applying Navidam to see if can help to identify potential methods. So I think it's done for this part. If you have any questions, the floor is open.
Thanks, Joachim. Any question? I think the whole idea of this Navidam is really to help people to use this causal method. So the paper we are thinking to write is really about presenting the approach, or presenting the overall thinking behind it, and just to say that it's also something dynamic that is not fixed over time, because probably some new methods will be added in the coming months or years. So that's really the thing of presenting the overall methodology for probably methods in ecology and evolution or something like that. But really not to say that it's a ending point, but more it's a starting point that yeah, people can contribute and make it very dynamic. So that's the whole idea. But we need your help at least for populating
exactly
the things, because we really want it to make it very collaborative in a way that everyone can participate in different ways.
Yeah, as you're going to see with the example after, so it's functional, but there are still a lot of methods that are not included. So for now, it's not suggesting a lot of different methods, for instance, but it's meant to be like this. I mean, as collaborative.
Susan?
Did you say that I? Hello, this is Suzanne here. I was just thinking, in the Navidam, you said that there's access to the papers that have been presented, before this presentation. And I was just wondering whether you put them also on SharePoint somewhere. I see that there's a literature shared folder, but it doesn't contain the new papers, I think, the ones that have been published now. Would that be possible? Because not all of us have academic access to some of these publishing houses.
I can put it in the SharePoint, yeah. True that for now it was on my personal drive, but you can also put it in the SharePoint. And the link
would be great, because there's a lot to take in, and we might need to have the time to just read also.
I will do. And
thank you.
So I was going to say the link is in the presentation, but it will be in the SharePoint. It's easier. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
So if there are no further questions, maybe we shall continue. So now we have the application part. So we'll start with a presentation by Jussi of how, and next a presentation from Laurie, both focused on how the methods in ecology and evolution provides tools to concretely try to use this framework, detection and attribution framework. So Jussi is going to present two examples of articles following the steps that that Marianne has previously introduced, and Laurie a checkbox box with a checklist, sorry, with the important steps to pay attention to when you're trying to achieve such work. So do you see the floor is yours. If you want me to pass the slides, we can continue like this.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, and thanks for the good presentation so far. So I will present you two examples from this MEE review paper. You can actually show the whole slide, or the next two. Yes, and the last one. Yeah. So I will present you these two studies, which apply causal analysis in different formats but their starting point and the end points are the same, or are in the same format, so that they start with this panel data, spatiotemporally explicit data of like species and environmental drivers, and then they finish off with the estimated causal relationships, but they end up there in very different ways. Next slide, please. So I actually have the slides here open a bit on a bigger screen here. So I will in the first paper, the D and others, where they titled "Clarifying the Effect of Biodiversity on Productivity." They look at this very classical question of that how species diversity leads into like a higher, or whether it leads into higher productivity. They look at this with the panel data, which means that it's spatiotemporally explicit data, and they apply very simple linear regression models, but they emphasize this study, or kind of this what's the word, like study setup, so that they try to account for different confounding factors, and in that way, when they account for different factors that affect the explanatory and the response variables, they can modify their linear regression so that it actually turns into causal analysis. The Regal and others paper, farmland practices are driving bird population decline, takes a very different approach. So they are looking at that how climate and land cover impacts bird populations. They also have this spatiotemporal data, but then they apply these causally motivated algorithms. So they are not so kind of explicit about how they built these models, but I think it more falls on this like black box side, so that they applied these convergent cross-mapping and SMAP to estimate the causal relationships. But we come to that soon. So next slide, please. So this is how they, in this first paper, in the D and others, how they built this. So their starting point is that I tried to sketch this like this sampling design there, so that they have these two study sites, S1 and S2, and both study sites consist of 3 study plots, and all these plots are surveyed in a few or in multiple time points. So there is this like a explicit hierarchy in sampling. The classical way is that if you want to kind of account for confounders, that if we look at this graph on the right hand side, where we have this richness R and then productivity P, and there is some mechanism how they are interlinked, but there is also this set of confounders on top of them that impact both richness and productivity and can kind of mess up the estimate for that, how the mechanism works there. So in a classical way, or in a classical approach, you have some like measures of confounders that could be like climate or temperature, and then you just add that into a linear model as an explanatory variable, and that's basically it. That you have kind of crossed that link there. But these can be like, I've added there this time varying plot and site level. So they can be, these measured confounders can vary between sites and or plots and time points. But then what D and others introduce are these unmeasured confounders, so that you, in many cases, you have not measured all those confounders. There can be like soil texture or some other variables, and there they then kind of take advantage of this hierarchy of the sampling design, so that they account for example, for time varying site level and time invariant plot and site level. So what kind of the idea here is that there is always this some level of baseline that you can compare the variation, so that you cannot account for confounders, unmeasured confounders that would vary in time and between all plots, but you can account for the confounders that for example, vary between plots but do not vary between or do not vary in time. So there is always this this idea that you can set some like baseline, for example, on site level, and then compare the plots to that. But I suggest that if you're interested in this, that how they build these models, I suggest you to go to this paper and read it more thoroughly. And they also test this the robustness of alternative or two alternative assumptions. The main finding here is that when they account for these unmeasured confounders, they actually come up with a totally opposite conclusion, so that actually higher richness leads into lower productivity. That's also a pretty exciting result. Next slide, please. And this is just to show that how they test these different formulations, so that it's always the same. Well, it's not the same linear regression, but it's one type of linear regression in every scenario. So there is no magic there. It's very kind of easy to understand those methods then. Next slide, please. Then I wanted to have this Regal and others like as a different data point that how you can also build this. So that in this paper they have this like a country level data of how, for example, forest cover is developing in those countries, and how those bird populations are developing in the countries. And they split this into basically two parts, where they first look at that, where they first estimate this association between anthropogenic stressors and the whole species pool. And this part is not very causal. I think it's more like a kind of like a flexible linear regression. And then they also estimate these associations between anthropogenic stressors and each species temporal trend. And here, for that, they apply this convergent cross-mapping, which is an algorithm, basically like a stochastic process where the algorithm finds these like non-linear and lagging effects. Not very kind of familiar with it. Well, not familiar with the SMAP either. So that's like a locally weighted regression. So I think that here they motivate this with this like a quasi-causal inference, but then it's difficult to say that how causal the inference is in the end. So that these are like very flexible methods, but I think that it's more like a here I would say it's more like a matter of taste that how causal it is. Yeah, so I think that's all from my side. I think it was 5 minutes that there was for me.
Cool, thanks a lot, Jesse. I think we'll go with Laurie's presentation and take all questions at the end of this part on the 3 different application speakers after the 3 speakers. So maybe I let you share the slides, Laurie. I stopped.
Yeah, I think I have to get permission to share my slide. So I ask for permission. Should be
okay. Stop first, and
if that's possible for you.
Yes. It should be in host.
Yeah. Okay. No, still not.
Is to grant permission to Laurie. I'm not sure. Okay. Oh yeah.
Now you
Now
can
maybe.
Okay, I will E. I think it works. Yes.
Merci.
Okay. Oh, are you seeing
Yeah,
this one?
it's coming. Yeah.
Okay. Still
Slowly.
fine like this?
Loading should be it in a second.
Laden.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you see the box,
Yeah.
the first line? Okay, nice, because I have quite some animation, so it's easier if I do it myself. Hello, everyone. My name is Lori, and I'm happy to present you a part of the very nice article that has been presented in the beginning of this workshop. I will kind of go further on what Jussi was just presenting. So he already indicated some clear examples, and what I'm going to present now is a bit more a general framework of the best practices that the authors of this paper come forward with when you are actually going over setting out a causal relationship and so on. And I will also make some references to the Navidam framework or the Navidam tool that Joachim was presenting a bit earlier too. So first of all, there is the quite straightforward step of defining your causal relationship. Like, what is your objective? What do you want to investigate? So in the Navidam, you can have some options here for the objective to indicate what you want to do. Do you want to detect a change in your biodiversity response variable, or do you want to do other things? We will go here now in this box one about what you want to do when you're doing a causal relationship. So in general, you set out the big steps of, okay, I want to understand the changes in this biodiversity response variable, and I assume that there's this driver that is leading towards these changes. So after that, it's about formulating hypotheses and predictions. So what we do here is gather a lot of information sources that we have. A lot of this might be based on some knowledge that you have from your expertise, or some a priori knowledge from other different projects. But it will probably be a little bit within your expertise. You can complement it with a literature review. What you want to do here is to find all the variables that play a role, and see as well if there is agreement in different evidence, so in different studies and so on. And if your hypothesis that you have set out in the beginning, if they are sound, if there is some competing hypothesis that you still have to tackle, and so on. So what we show here on the slide are two figures just to show that it can be really handy to have a certain kind of visualization of what you are assuming, of your hypothesis and your predictions. So this will help for the further steps to navigate easily through the steps that you're taking, and that you that everybody is also agreeing with the hypothesis that you make. Then in the next step, there is the mechanistic understanding and data contributions. So here it becomes a bit more concrete. What you want to do is you have your variables, or the players in the story, let's say, and you want to also understand how they work. What is their explicit role? So are there confounders? Are there mediators? That means, is there a certain variable that has an indirect impact, so it's actually, or the mediator will be the indirect impact, so then your driver will not be influencing your biodiversity response variable directly, but there is an intermediate variable that is affected first. And so you want to actually give an explicit role to all your variables. You also want to know what kind of interdependencies there are in the whole, in all variables that are included in the system. And here it's also important that we define a scale. So actually this comes, of course, in the beginning already. You have to understand or really be clear in what kind of scale you are assessing the causal relationship, because definitely when we're talking about interdependencies of certain variables, this becomes clear at the scale itself, if it's plausible or not. So on the last step of this slide, we come towards the constructing of the DAG. So Miriam already indicated a bit in general lines what the DAG is. So it's a directed acyclic graph. Now what we want to do is we want to set out all our hypotheses, the roles of each players, of each variable, and make it very clear how our storyline is built up. So in general, a DAG looks a bit like this. We call it an expert DAG. It's like a conceptual representation of all the causal assumptions that you make. So you have all your variables, your confounders, your mediators, and so on inside of this, and they are all linked with a certain indicated arrow in how they affect each other and eventually the biodiversity response variable. Now, like said before, such an expert DAG is probably quite based on a lot of your expertise and the field of knowledge that you are in, the field of study that you are in. So it can be appropriate as well to maybe use data-driven causal discovery to even complement or maybe even correct some parts of this conceptual framework. Because in a data-driven causal discovery, there are certain kind of causal discovery algorithms that you can apply on your data sets to maybe reveal some pathways that you didn't consider yet in the expert DAG. And here, just to show you that in the NaviDAM, there are also some information sources about these causal discovery methods. Besides this, it is just also really important for this DAG that you are clear in communicating it and publishing it when you're doing a certain research study, because obviously a DAG is something that can have quite some limitations and challenges. It can become quickly quite complex when you have some feedback loops and bidirectional arrows are popping up. And also, like I said earlier, the scale itself is affecting as well on which level your DAG can be plausible or applicable. And it might be that there can be some like temporal or spatial lags in the system as well that are a bit difficult to indicate. So there are some limitations and it can help to just be transparent in presenting your DAG to also bring forward some critical assumptions and also some questions that you might have not considered. So going further, then we come to more the general step and also the main step in the NaviDAM tool is that once you have indicated actually what kind of objective you have, what kind of data you have, what is the nature of the data, what are the interdependencies in your variables, and so on, then the NaviDAM, it's its purpose to actually guide you in making the best decision of which kind of method you can use to do that causal effect estimation or the causal relationship. So here you can see that how it actually will work then, and also later on, I think Joachim is going to present for one case study exactly how it works to put in some inputs here. So, and indeed, it will all be based, so the decision that the NaviDAM makes is based on what you have put in, so your inputs, and also the hypotheses that were in there, the assumptions, the data, and so on. Lastly, there is the step of interpretation and reporting. It's probably very clear, very a normal step for us researchers to do that, but still important to emphasize this because, as said before, it's quite a complex method. Some variables might be quickly forgotten in a way. So it is important to be critical to our outputs and also to be transparent in how that all the steps and assumptions that we made will have affected the input for the Navidam and eventually also the method selection. So in general, definitely the paper brings forward to really be critical and set out some sensitivity analysis or robustness checks. So in a sensitivity analysis, you will look at some maybe unconsidered confounders and how they will how strong they have to be to maybe undo your causal relationship. Or in robustness checks, you look at how subtle changes in the data will affect eventually the effect in the biodiversity response variable, and if the causal relationship still holds under these conditions. So these are definitely some things that are encouraged to do once you have done this, because at the end, it's still up to the author or up to the researcher or the researcher's group to identify if you are certain of the steps you took, and also if it's a dynamic process, you might consider going back and running it again with some different combinations of variables or different interlinkages or interdependencies between the variables. So I haven't gone over exactly each bullet point here because I think that would be a bit boring, but I think if you want to dive further in that, the paper is really clear in all the steps. So that was for me, my part. I will now stop sharing. Not sure if we already want to tackle some questions, if there are, or maybe after your presentation, Joachim.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I think I go through the Navidam example usually, and we'll take the presentation for Juicy, you and me all at the same time. So I'm sharing the screen again. I think it's loading. Can you see the screen? Yeah, okay. So here I'm presenting an example of usage. It's actually a gallery page. You can also directly look at it at the link above. And so the idea is to show how we could use this decision tool for a case study. So here the goal of the case study is to try to see if abrupt land cover changes are impacting common birds abundances in France. So I'll start by presenting the data very quickly to motivate then the use of Navidam. And first, the detection part, so how it can help us to choose a detection method. And then the idea is to do the same for the attribution. Maybe I skip to this last part. It's all in the gallery page because we're running a bit behind schedule. So the stock, it's the temporal monitoring of common birds. It's a standardized count protocol running in France on common birds, and we're looking here on this case study on the study period 2001-2019. And in this protocol, the participants are looking in 2x2 kilometer squares at 10 different hearing points in each square. And there is an annual random draw to revisit each of these squares. So here you can see the distribution of all the plots monitored since 2001 in yellow, and the plots that have been monitored in 2019 in orange. And such protocol then allows to look at the abundance curves, either by a specialization group here, all plots combined. So it's aggregated across bird specialization groups, for instance, agricultural areas, and all plots combined, or observation points. You can also look at the abundances, so also by specialization group. So here again, it's about the agricultural areas, but by observation square. So for each 2x2 kilometer square individually. also by birds. So here, for instance, it's an example for the European green woodpecker. And now the idea is to align on these square plots land cover data. So for this, I've used this data set, which is based on Landsat imagery, because it covers our study periods. So there are 30 and something classes, land cover classes, and it covers the study period. So it has land cover projects every 5 years before 2000 and annually starting from 2000 and going on. And so the idea was to align these land cover rasters on, as you can see on the left, our 2x2 square plots. So it results in such land cover time series. So here we can suspect, for instance, some deforestation on one of the stock square plots. Or here, actually, I've actually checked on Google Maps. It's a quarry excavation site that appears apparently in 1995. And now the idea is to first detect automatically such abrupt land cover change. And in the second time, the idea would be to test if such change actually impacts or not the bird metrics that I've just presented before. So back to Navidam, detection objective, we want a method that is suited for such detection of abrupt changes. And then the attribution, as I was just saying. So first for detection, we go back to this landing page and we choose the detection objective. So here we have panel data, which means time series at many places. Time series length, we have time series of actually 26 years, so more than 10. This criteria is ordinal. Do we need to handle very few samples, which can happen with data in ecology? No such need here. Same for big data. We don't need to analyze tens of thousands of sites. Here we have 2,000 sites and something in France. And even if we consider Europe, it doesn't scale up that much. And do we want to handle missing data? So here we have all land cover products available. So there's no such need, but we prefer to stay cautious, and we want a method that can handle simple corrections if we were missing some data in the future. And do we want a method that has already been applied to remote sensing data? Here we at least want some application. We don't want to transfer a method to remote sensing data. So then on the model properties, we don't have any explicit process to include here. So we put agnostic, exposure type. Here we want before and after, so a binary exposure, either an abrupt change after the abrupt change or before. Number of variable, we're looking at univariate variables. We're looking at landscape metrics. So for instance, if the proportion of some land cover class increases suddenly, we're looking at only one variable at a time. Packages. So for instance, here I've put Python and R if you like these two programming languages, and usage, you can specify some different levels of use. Finally, assumptions here. I forgot to mention that the different criteria are actually adapted depending on the objective you choose. If you choose detection, as it is the case here, you'll not have the same criteria as if you target effects estimation, for instance. They are adapted to the objective. So functional form here, we don't have really any requisite expectations, but we put these three options. and no specific model assumptions. So on the right, bottom right, we have a small tag indicating that we have assessed all the criteria for detection. And here it results in only one method for now. So we do have one candidate method. For now, it's only one, and the objective is to make it to include more methods, as I was saying. So, and hence the the interest to contribute to always integrate more methods. But I think you understood the idea. Is to qualify your case study and to then identify a set of adapted methods. So as I was saying, we are running behind the schedule, so I think I go quickly here. So the idea is then to apply the detection. So here I've looked at abrupt land cover changes by looking at the deviation from the mean annual change from 1 year to the other. And normally, also I forgot mentioning, you can then check the method page, so here outlier detection, and look for the different resources. So here I've applied it, as I was saying, by deviation to the average annual change. And for instance, here you can detect an abrupt change in 2011 with this boat terminal occurring. And then the idea is to look if we come back to the bird biodiversity curves, abundance curves. So it is the same curves than before, but now we have some abrupt land cover changes that are aligned on the abundance curves with the dotted lines. And we switched objective. We now want to check if such abrupt land cover change does impact or not our bird diversity metrics. So we can again go through the different criteria. I'm going to skip them for now since we're running late. But if you want the details, you can check the gallery page. And it results in another set of methods. And here, then we've applied synthetic controls to test for the impact of abrupt land cover changes. But I think you have the general idea of how we can use Navidam for a case study. So it was a bit quick, but now maybe we keep minutes for any question, either on Laurie's presentation, Justy's presentation, or Navidam, if there are any. No? Okay, and the idea also was that I think, yeah, it has been a quite dense seminar, so maybe we'll keep the questions for emails, I don't know, but hopefully it provided you some ideas to also apply either, sorry?
Pierre.
Oh, Pierre, you have, okay, Pierre, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Joachim. It's not really a question that I have, so sorry for that. But just wanted to say that the Navidam, like your development, it's a huge work and it's very cool. So big congrats for that. I would like to contribute, but I have the feeling that at some point it's a bit impressive. So to tell me like, okay, I'm going to go into the Excel sheet and choose a method and so on. So I think we need all to do that, and I will do. But at the same time, if you have some specific, at some point, if you go through some specific methods, or if you think that someone would have the expertise to actually feel or take in charge a whole methods or even a set of methods, just feel free to send maybe emails or just a quick message. Okay, can you try to do that or things like that? I know it's. I don't want to ask you to do more, but it's just that at some point, don't feel free to do that also.
No, it's a good point actually. Yeah. I've tried to identify people that already know methods because there's a lot of expertise available. But Yeah, I should send other invites, I guess, indeed, to make it to force, not the right word, but incite people to contribute. Yeah, thanks. And I agree that it can be a bit impressive, this big Excel file for now. So don't please don't be intimidated and try to contribute. Or you can also send mails, of course, because yeah, the idea was also here to look at how either Navidam or all the reviews that we've been presenting and the example application can help your work. For instance, in the pilots, but I think it's a bit much for now, but maybe don't hesitate to reach out by mails to any of the presenters, and we'll be happy to discuss.
If you want to maybe just show the chat, there is a question by Anne-Marie.
Chat. Okay, I do.
Tu l'avais?
Okay. Back here, it's a bit small, but it's here.
It's not. C'est pas ça. C'est pire.
I think it's here. I have a question about using mechanistic modeling for the dam. For mechanistic modeling, in my mind, the only assessment I can do is effect of driver baseline output.
I think we'll talk more about it over email. I just chatted it.
Oh, I haven't seen your answer already. Yeah,
It's a
maybe.
great question.
But thanks for the question.
Yeah, there was mostly a question about the mechanistic modeling side of it.
Okay.
How do you turn off? How do you turn in different drivers and things like that?
Cool. But then we've reached the end of the seminar. So we had like a short conclusion slide. So it's again the contribution map with the 4 articles. So the 3 articles, sorry, that have been presented by Anne, Miriam, and Pierre, and Navidan that can support the decision, the method decision part. And again, it's for the Navidam part, it's a collaborative work, so don't hesitate to reach out, and maybe we can look at some applications, be it for pilots or any case study. So thanks for attending. Oh, and I see that you have quite.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, like, I agree with Pierre that you have done like really good work with this. It's like very, I think it's a bit wild west with the causal models and how much there is like now research coming there. But I think that it's very difficult to kind of that I think that the Navidam is like a very important step in kind of directing research towards like more causal or adding like causal orientation to research and like very much looking forward to the output and the whole thing. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Jesse. Thanks a lot for also contributing with your pages. And I see there's also Risto.
Yeah, actually, I have a sort of very sort of little question and a sort of practical aim question. It's that for Joachim that for example, if you kind of reserve from this Navidam exercise that you are kind of screening for potential kind of this trend detection methods and you reserve something like 3 or 4 different options. So is your recommendation that we should kind of try more than one of these kind of potential methods as some sort of sensitivity analysis?
Definitely.
And especially if we reserve different contrasting kind of results from different methods. So what is your recommendation? What should we then do if we have a kind of reserving contrasting results?
Thanks for your question, Risto. So first, definitely, I think comparing different method results is the way to go. In UC presentation of the article, that's what the authors do. So in their case, all methods seem to agree, so it's easier. But if you do have contrastive results, my guess would be to look at the method assumptions and see if they can explain why then the results differ. And yeah, discussing best intuitions, or even better, if you can relate the differences to the method assumptions, would be ideal. But in any case, yeah, we totally agree, and we're going to insist on this point to compare the methods results.
Yeah, in a way, so it's a bit the same as we did, like years ago about the SDMs as well. Like you have different algorithms, and when you use them for projecting into the future, they may all agree, and then you are kind of happy, and then you are quite confident that it might be the case that it's going to work like that way. But on the way around as well, if they disagree, that means that you are kind of unsure, and I think that's what we also need to do. Like to have this confidence statement. Here, that would be, well, I'm using 3 or 4 methods, and they all differ. So that means that I cannot conclude about maybe the major causal effects or things like that. Or as Joachim said, that perhaps going a bit more and trying to explain why they differ in their response. But I think this is very important, because there are just too many papers. That is what UC said. That is a bit the Wild West at the moment. A lot of people are getting into this causal paradigm and trying to say that because they use this type of model, this is causal, and then they say, well, this is the way it is. And I think we should take care of not doing that, and trying maybe to contrast methods, to have some confidence statement, to use different alternative models or algorithm. They all agree that, so then it's not that you are confident, but you are more confident than if you are using a single one. And if they all disagree, then you can say that you cannot conclude, and then maybe try to explain why you cannot conclude, and maybe go for another alternative method, maybe for kind of seeing, yeah. But I think this is part of the game. I think we should really go into this kind of, not necessarily ensemble, but at least you have this type of multiple alternative ways of testing different causal framework, and then try to be a bit more, to be sure that what you conclude is not sure, but at least more confident, and what you conclude is more the way it is.
Cool, thanks for the questions. So I think time to stop. Thanks again for attending the seminar, and thanks to all the presenters. And don't hesitate to send any questions to they are the mates here, I guess. So to any speaker, we will be happy to try answering.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joachim.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Joachim, for organizing it and animating it. And don't hesitate to help us out if needed. And then we try to make some progress on the Navidam, and then sending a paper rather soon about this kind of dynamic work that we're organizing.
Yes, definitely.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Joachim.
Bye.
Thank you.
you.
Bye.